Imagine if the cloning technology of the future world were mature enough that cloned humans can replace you after death to continue accompanying your family. Would you use this technology? Cameron had a happy family with a loving wife and son. But one day he found out he had incurable cancer. He didn't tell his wife because she had just recovered from the grief of losing her twin brother. He couldn't bear to let her go through that pain again. All he could do was try his hardest to shut the bathroom door when he got sick so that his wife wouldn't find out about his illness. As time went by, Cameron's condition got worse. He was conflicted on whether to use cloning technology. On one hand, he struggled to accept someone else taking his place to enjoy his wife and son's love. But on the other hand, he really couldn't bear his wife having to endure losing him. But just then, his wife happily told Cameron she was pregnant and let Cameron put his hand on her belly to feel the joy of new life arriving. Cameron had mixed emotions, knowing he might not live to see his child being born. But he didn't want the child to be born without a father too, so he secretly decided to join the cloning program. When Cameron met with the doctor in charge of cloning, he expressed his concerns and asked to see other successful clones. The doctor introduced him to the clone Kate, who had already had her memories as a clone erased. Seeing the natural interaction between the clone and Kate's daughter, Cameron thought perhaps this plan could work. Next, he went to the cloning program space where he met the original Kate. The original Kate looked haggard from illness, but still shared her experiences with him.
When they send me 2.0 back, seeing my mom look into her eyes, not knowing it wasn't me, seeing her talking to my daughter.
In order to secretly switch places, Kate had to leave her family, no contact with them, and die alone. Cameron asked her how long she had been separated from her family. Kate said,
Roughly 42 days, 6 hours.
Cameron went to the lab where a clone identical to himself had already been created. Even Cameron himself could hardly see any difference between them. The next step of the experiment was to copy memories. As his memories were copied, countless memories with his family appeared in Cameron's mind, including how he and his wife met and fell in love. Cameron woke up from the memories and the clone was lying quietly across from him. Over the next few days, Cameron went back home and spent the little time he had left with his wife and son. Little things that used to be normal now became bittersweet memories. When Cameron returned to the lab again, he found the clone had awakened and could recite every details of his wife's life. As they ate together, Cameron realized the clone not only had his memories, but even his habits were exactly the same. The doctor wanted the clone to call Cameron's wife to see if there were any flaws. Sitting on the side, Cameron watched the clone chat happily with his wife. Unable to control his emotions, he cut off the call. Unexpectedly, this angered the clone and they had a fight.
You think I like this? Talking to my wife under a spotlight?
She's not your wife!
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. You just can't bear to see this actually work. That's the real problem.
Fuck you, man.
Fuck you!
But then Cameron's illness suddenly flared up, causing him to collapse onto the clone uncontrollably. Afterward, the clone found Cameron alone and apologized to him. Cameron understood the clone, but he requested to return home for 3 days to say goodbye to his family. However, as soon as he reached the door, Cameron's illness flared up again and he collapsed on the ground. Seeing his wife in the distance, he desperately wanted to see her again, but to avoid exposing his illness in front of her, he could only struggle to crawl back to the car. When he awoke again, he was back at the base. The doctor told him the clone had already replaced him and gone home. Cameron was furious, but the doctor said if he went home in this state, his wife would definitely discover everything.
You're dying. You're dying.
Meanwhile, the clone had returned home posing as Cameron. His wife warmly welcomed him, only the dog noticed something was off. After that, Cameron could only watch his family through the clone's hidden cameras, but the feed would sometimes cut out as if the clone didn't want Cameron monitoring him anymore. Cameron grew increasingly uneasy, even dreaming the clone would hurt his family. So one night, he secretly snuck back home. As he was looking through the chat records between the clone and his wife, the clone walked in, but he didn't show the hostility Cameron had imagined and said,
Do what you need to do.
Cameron went to his son's room, gently woke him up, and they went to the living room. They used juice instead of alcohol for a final toast. Seeing his son's happy face, Cameron said his final goodbye.
I love you, man.
I love you too, Dad.
He then went to his wife's room, facing his wife who didn't know anything. Cameron could only force down his grief and gently comfort her to sleep. Afterward, he and the clone got in the car, and Cameron handed the clone his wedding ring.
Take care of him. I will.
By the time Cameron returned to the base, the doctor told him the clone's memories of being a clone had been erased, completely replacing Cameron from then on. But the clone had left Cameron a gift. When Cameron walked in a room, on the screen was his wife's face. The clone had shut off the cameras earlier to prepare this farewell gift.
Look me in the eyes and tell me you love me.
What are you doing?
Just, come on, for real. I need to hear it.
Okay. I love you, Cameron Turner. Always have. And always will.
Keeping the grief for yourself and leaving happiness for your family. If you were Cameron, would you have made the same choices? Leave your views in comment section.